Van Lith and Jewel Spear. These two are the same class. I think they're going to be playing some really good basketball in the ACC for years to come, Sam.
Sophomore superstars, no doubt about it. We are underway. The Yum Center packed as always, leading the conference in attendance this year. Here's Chelsea Hall, the Vanderbilt transfer, hands it off to Kiana Smith. Smith thought about the shot, gets it back to Hall. Enksler looking underneath to Cochran, knocked out of bounds, and it will stay with Louisville. Here's our Food Line Food for Thought keys to the game, Kelly.
3 in double figures for Wake. You mentioned that, Sam. They need some more balance. Handle that pressure for Louisville. Force turnovers, do what you do, and the glass is going to be very important. In the 2 losses Louisville has sustained this year, they lost the rebounding margin. That's the only time this season they've lost the rebounding margin. So that's something that is a point of emphasis for this team moving forward.
Kiana Smith gets us started with the scoring there. Here's the starting 5 for Wake Forest. We talked about Jewel Spear leading the conference in scoring. Up and under for Kaya Harrison, player that missed their last game against Clemson. They are glad to have her back. A veteran player that can handle the ball and really limit the turnovers. As Emily Enksler knocks down the 3, so good at that, averaging just about 50% from long range this year.
That's an insane number. She doesn't qualify for the overall percentage stats because she hasn't made enough overall, but she is shooting 49% from 3. And Sam, if I was shooting 49% from 3, you know what I would do? I would shoot more. I would love to see more 3-point shots from Enksler.
Olivia Summiel answers on the other end. The 6'2 junior out of Dayville, Connecticut, starting 5 for Louisville. HVL, Kiana Smith, Emily Enksler, Chelsea Hall, and Olivia Cochran. Cochran coming off a great game against NC State, tying a career high of 19 points. Here's Enksler on the baseline jumper, leaves it a bit short.
Wake Forest starting in a zone against Louisville. We'll see how much zone they play, but they're definitely trying to force Louisville to settle for 3s and negate the power of some of those slashers for the Cards.
Elise Williams lost the handle. 3-on-2 for Louisville. Haley Van Lith slows it up just a bit, kicks it back to Chelsea Hall for the long 2, and she connects.
And here we're going to see some of that pressure from Louisville. What they've been known for this year, and what Jeff Walz says is, look, every roster I have, every year I adapt. They haven't always been a pressing team, but with this roster, he likes how they press and how they can get after those guards defensively.
Here's Jewel Spear, nylon. Standout sophomore from the Colony, Texas, averaging just over 3 threes a game. Haley Van Lith, though, the other way, and we are dropping buckets left and right here in the first quarter, Kelly.
If you like offense, this is the game for you. And Jewel Spear, the ACC's leading scorer. That was one of my keys for Louisville. They have to contain Spear. Make someone else beat you, because Jewel Spear, she can go off for 20, 30 in a given night. She's had a 40-point game this year against ETSU.
Elise Williams off the mark. Harrison gets the rebound. She's fouled on the floor by Haley Van Lith. Head coach Jen Hoover, 10th season. Made some history last year, as we all know. Took him to the NCAA tournament for the first time since she was a player in 1988. Bit of a tough stretch here, and it was interesting talking to Coach Hoover, Kelly. You can sense the frustration. The players, the fans, the coaches are all frustrated, but they have the pieces. It's a young team with some veterans sprinkled throughout this lineup. There's Christina Moore, one of the veterans, off the mark there. Kiana Smith, transition 3, yes! Louisville 2 for 2 from beyond the arc to get it started. And Smith with 5 points already in the game.
Sam, there are very few things I love more than a transition 3. Kiana Smith has the green light. She is also shooting over 40% from 3, and she nails that one.
There's that pressure defense from Louisville, and a travel.
What Louisville does a great job of, Sam, is they'll trap sometimes when it's planned, right? They'll say, okay, on the second pass, we're going to trap. But in this situation, this was unplanned. Enksler just realized, okay, Spear's struggling to handle the ball. She smelled blood in the water, for lack of a better term, and was able to trap and use that half-court line as a third defender.
Louisville will switch it up on you too, Kelly, defensively. Give you some different looks. They are limiting opponents to just over 50 points a game, 50.5 points ranked second in the ACC, 6th in the country.
In almost any other league, that number would rank first, but there's this team named Georgia Tech, and they are also elite defensively. Two of the best defensive teams in the country reside in the ACC in Georgia Tech and Louisville.
Georgia Tech taking down UNC just prior to our game. It appeared as if Lorella Kubai went down with an injury. I hope that she is okay, because that would certainly hurt a thriving Georgia Tech team.
And you see Kiana Smith in the passing lane there. What I love about this Louisville defense is how much these Louisville guards get after it defensively. They pressure the ball full court. They extend their defense way beyond the three-point line. They're in passing lanes. And when I'm talking guards, I'm also throwing Emily Inksler in there. Inksler is so dynamic. She's a 6'2" hybrid player who leads the ACC in steals. Sam, that is so rare. She is one of the best defensive players in the country.
Agreed with you there, and she can play all 5 spots as that shot falls for Olivia Sumiel. Wake Forest off to a good start here on the road. A really tough place to play in the Yum Center. 10 points, trailing by 2. They're shooting 50% from the floor.
They are, and they've struggled a bit offensively lately in those 4 losses. I like the move by Coach Hoover as Wake gets the steal to start both Kaya Harrison and Elise Williams, 2 true point guards who have been backing each other up at times, but against this defense, they need more ball handlers, and so I like that move.
And Wake Forest has taken the lead here in the first quarter. They are 3 for 5 from beyond the arc.
The way Louisville presses, if you can beat their tracks, you're going to get open looks, and it's just a matter of knocking them down, and Wake Forest is off to a very hot start here in the Yum Center.
8 different players have already scored in this game. We could have an offensive juggernaut on our hands here as Kiana Smith a bit too strong, and a good rebound by Sumiel. Wake Forest looking to push here. Kaya Harrison in the open floor finds Williams for 3, and she gets fouled on the shot. A great start for the Demon Deeks on the road as they lead by 1, and 3 free throws coming up. You're watching ACC Network Women's Basketball presented by Food Lion, the official grocer of the ACC. See head coach Jeff Walz getting the honorary ball, 400 wins, picked it up a week ago against Boston College. And my oh my, what Louisville has done under head coach Jeff Walz, spectacular. 10 trips to the Sweet 16, 6 to the Elite 8, 3 to the Final 4, 2 national title games, and looking to make another deep run this year. See the background there before Jeff Walz, just 4 tournament wins. How about a 33 spot with Jeff Walz?
It's really unbelievable what he's done at Louisville, and of course tossing that ball to esteemed SID Nick Evans over there, who's one of the best. But
the best.
Jeff Walz has made Louisville into one of the very best programs in the country. There's no doubt about it. And I loved what he said, Sam, after that 400th win. We called that game, the Boston College win. He said, look, I haven't made a shot. I haven't grabbed a rebound. Yep. And he's always, that's something that Jeff Walz does. After the NC State loss, he took the blame. He never blames players, at least not publicly. Of course, they're going to go back and look at film and be hard on their players. But I love how he approaches it from a media perspective and from a public perspective. If it's ever a win, it's his players' credit. If it's a loss, he takes the blame. I think that's how coaches should handle things.
Right, and he will be very honest with you, right? He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he'll tell you what's going on. No sugarcoating about it. Smith finds Inksler. Nice interior pass to Liz Dixon, who gets fouled. Just entering the game, Dixon, the senior out of Memphis, Tennessee.
And Sam, that's exactly what you want. That's the look you want against the zone. You want to hit the short corner and then find your post diving to the basket. And Emily Inksler, who is also a great passer. She's so versatile. She does so many things for this team. Leads Louisville in rebounds, steals, blocks. It's a good look to Liz Dixon, who comes in for Olivia Cochran, who played really well against NC State, but hasn't done much so far in this game, Sam.
Yeah, those 19 points against NC State, that tied a career high for her. She has really found her game since ACC play has started. An early trip to the bench for Cochran. More full court pressure for Louisville, and Wake Forest with a 15-14 lead here in the first quarter They have gotten it done by shooting the ball incredibly well and by not turning the ball over. Just 2 turnovers here, Kelly, in the first.
That has been huge because Wake Forest does have shot makers. Obviously, you've got Jules Spear, one of the best players in the ACC, but you have some other good shooters with Williams and Harrison. When you turn the ball over, you don't let yourself get a good look, and in that situation there, that's what happened with Spear. I think the main thing to avoid if you're Wake Forest is live ball turnovers, because we know Louisville, they feast on live ball turnovers.
Casa Robinson also into the game. Enksler with a shot fake, puts it on the floor into the hole. Emily Enksler, just such a great pickup for head coach Jeff Walz this year in the transfer portal, coming over from Syracuse, and she can do it all.
You and I were talking before the game, Sam. One of the most important transfers in the nation, I would say, Enksler to Louisville. And, funny enough, Diamond Johnson to NC State. And we saw Diamond Johnson go crazy in the fourth quarter to give NC State the win over Louisville.
It's a good look to find Smith, couldn't handle it. Enksler, not a great pass, looking to Liz Dixon. Numbers for Wake Forest. The kick to Spear, she takes it to the rim and puts it in. Jules Spear with 5 of the 17 for Wake so far.
You do not want to let Jules Spear get going. It's so tough for her to get easy shots because of the attention she commands. So if you let her get layups in transition, she's going to start feeling good. And when Jules Spear starts feeling good, that's when you get 30 burgers from the sophomore, okay? So Louisville needs to be careful about that.
She's got a couple of those this year, plenty of 20-plus point games as well. Lise Williams with the ball. Wake Forest opting to slow it up a little bit here. Something Coach Jen Hoover talked about is if we can limit the possessions that Louisville has, that's a huge plus for us.
And that's the strategy I think most teams, depending on personnel, but most teams should take against Louisville, is try to make it more of a half-court game. Obviously, it's easier for almost anyone to score in transition than the half-court, but Louisville is so deadly in transition. You really have no choice. You want to try to make them play in the half-court.
Spear, top of the key. How about it?
I told you,
Spear.
Sam.
Don't
Sam
let her
Ravitch.
heat up.
This woman is feeling good. You got to fear the Spear.
Largest lead of the game for Wake Forest, 4 points with 1:23 left to go in the first quarter. Van Lith, long 2. Count it. She is so good, Kelly, at the mid-range jump shot.
Her mid-range game is excellent. That was kind of a long range, almost a 3, but still, she is so good at shooting off the dribble. That's a tough thing for a lot of players, especially when you're left-handed or you try to dribble right, pull up left. I love dribbling left, pulling up right, but being able to be good on both sides and have that dribble pull up, that's so good for Van Lith. It really adds to her game.
Scruggs off the mark there. Mora with the offensive board and puts it back up and in. That's something that Wake Forest has been very good at this year. The wins might not be there in conference play, but the rebounding is up in the tops of the conference.
3-0 boards already for the Deeks, and that's been a little bit of an Achilles heel for Louisville at times, giving up offensive rebounds. That's something to watch.
Peyton Verhulst for 3, the standout freshman from DeSoto, Kansas, was pretty much all everything her senior year of high school. She's made a nice impact for Louisville with 5 seconds left to go in the first quarter. Wake Forest is going to go in with the lead, but by how much? It will be by 1 point at the end of the first quarter. 11 different players scored in the first, and it was Wake Forest going to have to find an answer defensively, and the defense has been their calling card this year. They have limited opponents to an average of just 22 points per game in the first half of games this year. First half. Wake Forest has 22 in the first quarter.
It is very rare to see a team come out and do this versus Louisville. And the biggest thing that they've been able to do, Sam, is they're not turning the ball over. If you're able to break some of those traps, there's a reason why when you're trapping, it's a 2-on-1, right? You break the trap, maybe you have a 4-on-3. And if you're able to get out of there and not turn the ball over, you are going to get open looks. And Wake is cashing in on those so far.
Sumiel for 3.
Wake Forest continues to shoot the lights out from beyond the arc.
2 for 3 for Olivia Sumiel from beyond the arc. Haley Van Lith splits a couple of defenders. Bellhurst turns it over. For a moment, though, ball on the floor. Mikasa Robinson regains possession. Numbers for Louisville, and Liz Dixon cleans it up at the bucket.
Tough possession for Wake Forest. You play really good defense. You aren't able to come up with the loose ball. And Louisville with a heads-up play to score there. But you play such good defense on that possession. If you're Wake, you've got to find a way to get that loose ball.
Tough pass underneath, looking for Malaya Coles. Just a bit too far out ahead. Bellers thought about the three. Mikasa Robinson, so great defensively. Nice pass underneath to Dixon in the reverse layup. Liz Dixon off to a really good start, Kelly.
Yes, beautiful pass by Mikasa Robinson. And Liz Dixon, who was on the All-ACC freshman team when she was at Georgia Tech a couple of years ago. That's where she started her career. She's 6'5". It always feels like she should be averaging more points per game than she is. A super talented player that Louisville can bring off the bench.
Well, heat check there for Sumiel. Knocked out of bounds and going Louisville's way.
Sam, how about another look at this pass? Mikasa Robinson draws the defense, hits Liz Dixon right where she needs that ball to be, and then Dixon with the presence of mind and the composure to not go right up with it, but go with the reverse. That's a great play from Liz Dixon.
Leading contributor off the bench for this Louisville team. Van Lith, free throw line extended, no good. And a fight for the rebound, jump ball, possession arrow, Cardinals.
Louisville finally getting in with some offensive rebounds, Sam. We know that's been a point of emphasis for Jeff Walz, not only allowing less, but also grabbing more. Wake Forest had 3 O boards in that first quarter, and now Louisville's trying to get some second chance points of their own.
Too many steps for Verhulst, excuse me. All tied up, 25 all. Third turnover of the game for Louisville. Well, it's not as if these two teams don't have history, right, Kelly? I mean, the last time they met was in the ACC tournament, in the quarterfinals. That was won by Louisville. But the game prior, the first meeting last year, they needed a Dana Evans last-second shot to win the game. All right, we got a college hoop quadruple header for you Saturday right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Starts with this Tobacco Road rivalry game, 2 Eastern time. Armando Bacot leading the Tar Heels against Durion Sebron, and NC State. North Carolina has won 6 of the last 7 against the Wolfpack, as Elise Williams will go to the line to shoot 2.
And Sam, you're right. That last regular season meeting between these two was epic. I was able to call that game. It was in Winston-Salem. And Wake Forest, of course, was an NCAA tournament team last year. And Louisville needed some late game heroics from who else? Dana Evans, the 2-time ACC Player of the Year. She made a shot with 8 seconds to go to effectively win the game. And Wake Forest is still looking for that first ever win over Louisville.
8-0 Louisville is against Wake Forest all time. And a turnover there. Can it be costly? Louisville trying to capitalize. Van Lith, nice fake. And the Cardinals fired up, rightfully so. They lead by 3. Welcome back. AFC Yum Center packed for this matchup. Number 3 Louisville with a 3-point lead over Wake Forest. This Louisville defense is suffocating and has been for quite some time. And this is just what they do to opponents.
exactly right, Sam. You have that trap at the top with Alana Smith and Liz Dixon. Verhulst is already denying the one pass away, and Liz Dixon was already coming back to be help side and basically replace Verhulst. It's very difficult, Sam, when you have Liz Dixon, who's so mobile, 6'5", trapping up near half court, and then able to run back and get back and help side. It's incredibly difficult for someone like Kaya Harrison, who's 5'7", to pass out of that trap. So one of the many things that makes Louisville so lethal defensively, and now they're coming out of a timeout and trapping you full court. It just never ends. The pressure is relentless for Louisville.
Those are the shots you kind of need to make once you beat the press. And a foul going against, I believe, Emily Angstler. But here you go, averaging over 21 turnovers a game. That was her forced, of course. The points off the turnovers, almost 22. That's first in the ACC, 25th in Division I ball.
And to me, Sam, that was the big difference in the NC State game. I was really impressed early that Louisville was able to turn NC State over, because I thought, well, NC State's one of the best offensive teams in the country. They're not going to be able to turn them over like they have other teams. And they were, but they couldn't sustain it for 4 quarters. That was the big difference.
Well, Wake Forest has gone a little bit cold from beyond the arc here in this second quarter. Christina Moore whistled for the foul there. 2 fouls on Emily Angstler here in the first half. Keep an eye on that. She's so vital to the success of this team. Another good look from Mikasa Robinson to find Angstler. That's twice now that they've gone direct down to the block. This time Angstler the recipient of the assist.
3 assists already from Mikasa Robinson. She's done a great job. One of those unsung heroes for this Louisville team, a very, very good defender as well, but she's done a great job of finding Angstler, especially in that zone.
6-0 run for Louisville over the last minute plus. Wake Forest needs a score. Nia Becker just into the game, misses the reverse, and Liz Dixon brings down the rebound. That's her 4th. In transition, Haley Van Lith for 3.
What a pass from Emily Angstler. She saw Van Lith was open, got her that ball quickly with the skip pass, and that's not an easy shot. There was a hand right in Van Lith's face, but she didn't care. She knocked that down.
Van Lith started the season really slow from beyond the arc. It just wasn't falling. Coach Wall said, it's going in practice. It'll eventually go in games. And it certainly has started to. Over the last 7 games, Van Lith 11 for 24 from 3-point range. And an 11-0 run for Louisville prompts yet another timeout for Wake Forest. Now a 10-point lead for the Cardinals at home. The defense turning to offense. Haley Van Lith knocking down the 3 there. Welcome back. Kelly Gramlich, Sam Ravitch with you here. The KFC Yum Center, an 11-0 run, Kelly, over the last 2 minutes. A 15-1 run over the last 4. How has Louisville gotten back in this game?
Well, they've turned Wake Forest over, but even when they don't turn Wake over, they're just playing good defense. Those last 2 possessions, excellent contested shots from Dixon and Angstler inside to force Wake to take tough layups, and then they grab that ball and they're off to the races. And they're sharing the ball really well in transition. Haley Van Lith knocking down some big shots too.
Shot off the mark. Wake Forest 0 for their last 6 from the floor. And a travel. Van Lith, either that or stepped out of bounds. One or the other, but it's going to be a turnover for Louisville.
And Sam, that's what I'm talking about. They force a tough shot, they grab the rebound. It's almost like they forced a turnover because they get out in their secondary break so quickly. And almost anyone except for the 5 player, but Angstler and below, can grab that ball and start the break. So Louisville makes you get back in transition super quickly. Otherwise, they're going to score on you that fast.
Jewel Spear. And a foul down on the block there. That's going to go against Mora, trying to create space for herself. And that's going to be the 2nd on Christina Moore in the game.
And Sam, talk about depth for Louisville. We talked about Olivia Cochran, who had 19 points, 7 boards against NC State. She's only played 6 minutes in this game, is not in foul trouble. But Liz Dixon has come off the bench, 10 points, 4 rebounds in 10 minutes. She's playing so well that Walls has stuck with her. And that's a real luxury for Jeff Walls to have both of those kind of post players on your roster.
Good deflection by Nia Becker there.
In the game for Wake Forest, number 32, Alexandria Scruggs.
Yeah, and the question, Kelly, at the outset of the season, I think by many, was how does Louisville replace a Dana Evans? And the answer has clearly been by committee, right? I mean, the depth of this team rivals anybody in the ACC this year.
By committee is almost an understatement. They have beaten people with so many different players. I know they have a shot clock violation there, but Van Lith is their leading scorer, but Kiana Smith has had some huge games. Emily Enksler has done so much, including score the ball, but she's their leading rebounder. You've had Alana Smith, who came off the bench and had 11 points in the UConn game. Cochran and Dixon as well. There's been so many different players that have worked together to make up for what they miss with Dana Evans. And there's still times where they miss Dana. I mean, having Dana in that fourth quarter against NC State to calm you down and go get a bucket would have been huge. And I think Van Lith, Kiana Smith, and Enksler can develop into those players. But you're going to miss the 2-time ACC Player of the Year. And they're still finding a way to win a bunch of games even without her.
The offense has been a struggle at times. They're averaging 70 points a game. That's good for 9th in the conference. But if Haley Van Lith continues to do that, they're going to score a ton of points. Van Lith now 2 for 2 from long range, and she's got 12 to lead the way for the Cardinals today.
And if Van Lith can be a little more consistent offensively, then I think that takes this team to another level. And that's what she has done. In the last 3 games, she's averaging over 16 points per game. She already has 12 today. She's 5 of 6 from the field. She also has 3 assists for good measure. But if she is able to consistently go out there and give Louisville 15, 16, 17 a night, and that would be about 5 more than her average, I think Louisville's in really good shape to make a deep run in the tournament. She just needs to be a little more consistent, and she has been showing that over the last couple of weeks.
So Wake Forest led by 1 after the break of the first quarter, 22-21. Wake Forest, their last 11 possessions, Kelly, 0 for 7 from the field, 4 turnovers. They're being outscored 18-1. So our officials are just checking to see if this foul needs to be reviewed, and it looks like they are going to go and check this out.
Under review.
Tamira Hines there, number 25 for Wake Forest.
Yeah, Sam, at first glance to me, that looks like a basketball play. I do not think that's an intentional foul. Mikasa Robinson was knocked over, maybe sold it a little bit, but I don't think there was any sort of intentional elbow or anything of that nature. I don't even see her swing her elbows, and you could see Hines looked at the ref and was shocked. So to me, that's a basketball play. But Sam, I am not an official, as you know.
We'll get the official word from our referees here in just a moment. We'll converse with each other once again, but they have taken a long look at this, and here we go.
The ruling on the court is confirmed as an offensive foul.
Okay, so just an offensive foul, just a common foul. I think that's the right call. You're playing basketball, Sam. Sometimes You're going to get some hands to the face. Sometimes you're going to get hit. It's a physical game, and probably way more physical than your average fan understands if you haven't played, especially at the college level. It can be a beast inside. And so I think when you have plays like that, the officials did a good job of getting that right, because there was no intention there. It was just a basketball play, a scrum for the ball.
Alana Smith rattles home a 3. How about Louisville, now 6 for 8 from deep? That's 75% to start this game.
This team is tough to beat no matter what, but when they're shooting the rock like that, they're almost impossible to beat.
Jewel Spear trying to get it going. It was a real hot start for Wake Forest, have cooled off here in the second quarter.
Spear made some really tough contested shots early, but overall, I think Louisville's done a great job on her, making her take some really, really tough shots. And Spear's used to that because she draws so much attention, but she has not gotten a single open look today.
17-0 run now for Louisville of the last 5 minutes plus. Casa Robinson, Verhulst. Good defense there by Wake, but Verhulst, the heads-up play to knock it out of bounds off of Sumiel.
That's a smart play, Sam. That's a basketball IQ play. You understand that, hey, I didn't take the best shot there. I'm going to hustle after this ball, and then I can hit it off the Wake Forest defender. Now only 7 seconds left here on the shot clock. Let's see what Louisville comes up with.
Casa Robinson taking it out underneath, finds Haley Van Lith. Oh, what a design play there.
Van Lith and Mikasa Robinson, they have good chemistry, a good connection. We saw them talking earlier, talking about what they're seeing. And both of those players, Van Lith now with 5 assists today, and Mikasa Robinson with 4, sharing the basketball at a very high level.
Liz Williams gets bumped there by Verhulst.
And saying this is just knowing your teammate, knowing what your teammate needs. Mikasa Robinson inbounded that ball and realized, probably mid-air, okay, I just inbounded to Van Lith, who's getting a double team. I have to make myself available for my teammate, who I just passed that ball to. So a great job by Mikasa Robinson and really good awareness by Van Lith to find her.
So a big round of applause for Liz Dixon as Olivia Cochran checks back into the game. Well deserved for Dixon. Those 10 points off the bench, 8 in the quarter. And a jump ball possession arrow to Wake Forest there, as Sumiel had a lot of white jerseys around her.
These Louisville fans, Sam, are some of the best in the country. Obviously, they show up. You can see the crowd here. But they're smart. They understand Liz Dixon is very talented, but sometimes doesn't play as many minutes as she would elsewhere. She's on a winning program, and that's the trade-off. But they understand what kind of minutes she just provided for this team, and they give her that big round of applause. We got some smart basketball fans in Louisville.
Wake Forest over the last 11 from the field. They have gone ice cold as Haley Van Lith steps back for 3, no good. Sumiel brings in the rebound. Now keep in mind, Wake Forest led in this game by 4, 25-21. Jewel Spear off the mark there once again. It's about 5 seconds difference between the shot clock and the game clock here as we come to a close here in the second quarter. Interesting, almost went in off the deflection.
I don't know who would have gotten credit for that.
A little volleyball play there. 4 to shoot. Sumiel's got to get it up. Does so. And Wake Forest ends the half as they started it. 0 of their last 13 from the field, Kelly. But it's been the defense that Louisville came out with to get them back in this one.
Louisville has been great defensively. On the other end, Sam, there is probably not a team in the entire country that's going to beat Louisville when they shoot 67% from 3. Wake started hot. Louisville finished hot. We've seen a lot of threes today, Sam, which you know makes me happy.
Quarter has been their calling card, holding teams to just around 50 points per game. Third quarter underway. Kelly Gramlich, Sam Ravitch with you here in the KFC Yum Center. Loud and ruckus fans, as always.
And Sam, one thing to watch in this second half, and this is something Louisville struggled with at times, as Olivia Cochran gets off to a great start. Jeff Wall's applauding that, but we talked about the NC State game, right? 3 great quarters, not able to finish the job. I know Louisville's up 20, but I feel like the message at halftime from Jeff Walls was, let's put together fourth quarters. Let's really put our foot on the pedal here and prove that we can put together four quarters of basketball.
Shot off the mark from Christina Mora. Back the other way. Louisville so dangerous in transition. Haley Van Lith gets fouled going to the net by Elise Williams. She'll go to the line to shoot 2. 20-point lead for Louisville here. First foul for Elise Williams. But you know what's interesting, Kelly? Louisville has won obviously some big games this year. Started with the opening loss to Arizona, but you get wins against Michigan, UConn, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, of course. Those were tight games that Louisville closed out well. But it just seemed in that NC State game, they went cold and they made some changes. And of course, Diamond Johnson's going to be Diamond Johnson.
NC State just had one too many weapons. And look, Diamond Johnson, that's why Wes Moore went and got her out of the portal, was to give NC State another dimension, another level, to bring her off the bench. And it's looking to be one of the better portal additions in women's college hoops. But yes, they have put together 4 quarters over the season. I think recently the NC State game, and even maybe the Syracuse game where they let Syracuse back in that one a little bit. That's got to be a point of emphasis. But when you look at Louisville's resume, that's why before the Louisville-NC State game, I was voting Louisville higher in my poll than NC State because of those wins. They didn't just beat Michigan. They destroyed Michigan.
Yes.
They whooped Kentucky. They beat UConn in a neutral site, but was really a road game. And that one loss was Arizona in the first game of the year. So their resume, even with the NC State loss, still looks very strong.
Chelsea Hall in the paint there, extends Louisville's lead. Now reach 50 points for the game. And Louisville had a 15 straight game winning streak. That was the longest active winning streak in college basketball up until Thursday. Jewel Spear, a lot of traffic there, no foul called. Cochran with the rebound, look at a push.
Cochran trying to play a little point guard there for a second. Made the good decision to pick it up, get it to a guard.
Kiana Smith for 3, no good. And Spear races to the rebound. Whistle underneath, was getting a little bit physical there between Moore and Smith. Foul's going to go against Kiana Smith. Elise Williams drives baseline, puts it up, no good. Mora has it poked away, ball on the floor, and Haley Van Lith comes up with it. Quickly ahead to Kiana Smith in transition. Can't convert at the rim, and Jewel Spear with the rebound.
And this is being nitpicky because I know Louisville is very much in control of this game, but I could see once Kiana Smith didn't finish there, Jeff Walls turned to his assistants, and in my mind, I know what he's saying. She has to use her left there. She was hesitant to fully go left. She tried to score kind of from the middle and still use her right hand, and I'm sure that's something that they've been working on with Kiana Smith, to be more versatile to where you can use the left and use the right and be confident in both hands on both sides, Sam.
A couple of missed opportunities there. Look like layup line layups. And tangled up jump ball. Wake Forest possession as Louisville continues to extend their lead 50-26. So it's getting to that point, Kelly, when we start to pay attention a little bit more, not as if we don't throughout the entire year, but you see at the current moment, if the season were to end today, our friend Charlie Cream has 8. That's right, 8 ACC teams making the NCAA tournament, Kelly.
And that's tied for the most. The SEC also has 8 if the season ended today. Louisville's a 2 seed. The reason they dropped off the 1 line was because of the loss to NC State. So still plenty of time to try to move back onto the 1 line. I'm keeping an eye on UNC, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, because this year we're back to the pre-COVID format where if you're a 1 through 4 seed, you get to host the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. Louisville and NC State, it's pretty much sure they're going to host as Inksler knocks on another 3. But Georgia Tech's a 4 right now. They would host if things ended today. Notre Dame's a 5, UNC's a 5. You want to sneak into that 4 spot. It's so important to be able to host. And Notre Dame is a team that I think has a chance to do that. But that's another dimension that's back in the tournament this year.
And a huge factor as you kind of see the KFC Young Center erupt even more. Great to have fans back in the stands. It's great to see the Young Center going crazy for their Cardinals as they lead 55-26. It done and amped it up defensively, Kelly.
You heard that right. 30-0 run. Our awesome researcher put that up on his whiteboard and I said, what? Can you double check that? That's insane. And it hasn't necessarily felt that way, but of course you had halftime, so you break it up. Wake Forest has been stuck on 26 points for quite a long time. And Louisville, now with 19 points off of turnovers, almost at their average. That is what they do. That's their bread and butter. They're going to make you pay when you make mistakes.
It's going to be the 3rd foul on Emily Enksler in this game. But yes, you are correct. That is no field goals made for Wake Forest in the last 14 minutes.
And one of my keys for Wake, Sam, and you brought this up too, was you've got to get more production outside of Jewel Spear. You have to have 3 in double figures to even think about being in this game in the 4th quarter. Jewel Spear has 8, Olivia Sumiel has 8, Williams has 6, so you don't even have 1 in double figures yet. And Spear has not been able to get a lot going, but still no one else has stepped up to help her.
Acrobatic inbounds there. Gets it into Kaya Harrison, though. Sumiel, long 2, off the mark. Louisville not giving up, though. Quickly in transition, Liz Dixon adds to her total. She's got 12 in the game. She hasn't missed from the field yet, Kelly.
Liz Dixon has had 2 exceptional catches in transition. She just looks like a gazelle running the floor, and to have those kind of hands where you can catch and score so seamlessly, she has had some great catches in this game. And maybe a little bit of a travel there, Sam, but you know what? She got the 2 points, and it counts. And the bigger story here is that Liz Dixon, coming off a game where Olivia Cochran played so well, now you have Liz Dixon. If you can get 12 or 15 from either Cochran or Dixon on a given night, that takes some pressure off of your guards to score. And that's going to be very important for Louisville going forward. Very few teams have the luxury of bringing a player like Liz Dixon off their bench.
2 for 2 from the line for Williams. Yeah, but just building more off of that and the depth conversation for Louisville. 20 bench points in this game. Wake Forest has 0. I mean, that's insane. As Enksler gets fouled going to the rim. Step aside for a quick break here as we're under the 5-minute mark in the 3rd quarter. 57-28 Louisville. Welcome back. 57-28 is our score. Number 3 Louisville coming off of a tough and disappointing loss on Thursday to NC State. They played so well for the first 3 quarters of the game. They fell apart in the 4th quarter. And it'll be interesting to see how the rankings shake out next week. You see the bracketology here, the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds. What jumps out to you here, Kelly?
Well, first of all, Tennessee moving up to the 1 line, and they were able to move up because of that Louisville loss. You've got LSU under Kim Mulkey, resurgence for them. Both of Louisville's losses are on this graphic, NC State and Arizona. So again, that's how good Louisville's resume is. And there's still plenty of time for Louisville to sneak into that 1 spot. I think there's a good chance that both Louisville and NC State are 1 seed. So it's going to be a really fascinating finish, who ends up with those 1 seeds and the 2 seeds. And your average women's hoops fan may be watching and saying, well, where's UConn? They're currently a 4 seed in Charlie Cream's latest bracketology. And depending on when they get Beckers back, I mean, there's a chance they might not host the 1st and 2nd rounds, which would be pretty unbelievable, Sam, when you look at historically what UConn has done.
Yeah, you mentioned it too. I would not envy the school that has to host UConn coming into town. That would not be an enjoyable thing to see. But yes, nonetheless, it has been an up and down year in stores.
And as we mentioned that, by the way, Sam, Tennessee in a close one with Georgia, and LSU trailing Florida right now. LSU was on the 2 line in that bracketology. So that's kind of the point with bracketology, as dear friend, legendary Coach Muffet McGraw says, it's way too early for bracketology. That's kind of her point, as you've got a team on the 2 line right now, could end up losing today, you have no idea. So it's still very early.
Jewel Spear turns it over in transition. There's Mikasa Robinson, gets the ball right back. So good on live ball turnovers, Kelly.
They will kill you if you turn the ball over in a live ball situation. They're going to make you pay, and they have shared the ball really well today, Sam. Louisville has 17 assists on 24 made baskets. Van Lith with 6 and Mikasa Robinson with 5.
Well, that was a massive block by Liz Dixon there. It was whistled for the foul, though. 3rd foul on Liz Dixon, so she'll go check to the bench. Fans in the Young Center less than pleased.
Yeah, that's not a foul, Sam. That is not a foul. That is. We just had the Louisville volleyball team being honored. I mean, that was a kill right there. The volleyball coach, wherever they are, they see Liz Dixon, they're thinking, oh my gosh, could she come play some volleyball?
Kai Harrison capitalizes, makes both, and we'll head to the bench as Alexandria Scruggs checks in. You know, we touched upon it a little bit, how Wake Forest needs to find that 2nd, 3rd score. This Wake Forest team lost quite a bit last year. You know, when you have Ivana Ratza, who was just so crucial to this team, and it's not easy to replace what they lost.
Exactly right, Sam. You had Ivana Ratza, an all-ACC performer. She was a senior. You had Gina Conti, who was a senior point guard, and those 2 plus Spear were basically their big 3. So you had these 2 seniors that were leading the way. This is a Wake Forest team that made the NCAA tournament last year for the first time in over 30 years. So it was a big deal for them. And they're trying to rebuild. They have a lot of young guards. Jewel Spear is obviously super talented, but they're trying to find some more consistent players around her, and they miss Ratza, they miss Conti. It was definitely going to be a tall task for them to replace both of those players after the run they had last year.
Scruggs underneath, misses the point blank free throw, and a foul underneath going against Louisville. Scruggs will go to the line to shoot 2. Scruggs 68% from the free throw line, makes the first. Coming up after our game, Lisa Kinane and number 4 NC State hosting Virginia Tech. Wolfpack undefeated in conference play. The Hokies 5-1. This is going to be a great test and a great game coming up after ours in just about 40 minutes or so. Take a look at some numbers here to keep an eye on. Virginia Tech beat this NC State team last year in overtime. They almost beat them twice, actually. And it'll be interesting to see how NC State comes off a high and mighty win Thursday. Can they come back to earth? Because this Virginia Tech team and Kenny Brooks with that two-headed monster, and three-headed really with Georgia Amore and Asia Shepherd. Can't forget about what Liz Kitley has done. And that's a formidable opponent.
I'm very excited for that game coming up right after us, Sam. And both of these teams playing for a lot. NC State just beat Louisville. They're probably not going to jump South Carolina in the poll because they lost to South Carolina. So South Carolina, I believe, should stay #1. But if they beat Virginia Tech, they should probably move up to #2 in the AP poll. And then for Virginia Tech, they started the season ranked. They've fallen out since then. If they can beat NC State, there's no doubt in my mind they should be ranked after a win like that. So a lot at stake between Virginia Tech and NC State coming up next.
The Virginia Tech team was a bubble team last year. They were waiting on Selection Sunday to see if their name would be called. There's Jewel Spear, nice move in the layup. A couple of points back-to-back for Wake Forest.
And Sam, you mentioned Virginia Tech being a bubble team. That's another team fighting for seeding. Right now, they're a 7 seed, and Coach Kenny Brooks has said, look, we want to be higher up there. We don't want to have to face a 1 or a 2 in the second round. If they can get up to a 6 seed, that's a big difference for the draw they're going to get, and it's a much more manageable road to the Sweet 16. So every single game matters for Kenny Brooks as they continue to try to improve their tournament seeding.
There's Jewel Spear, floater in the paint. Can't get that to go. Last touch by Casa Robinson. Minute 23 left to go here in the third quarter. Kelly Gramlich, Sam Ravitch on hand with you here, and a full KFC Yum Center. I know it was tough for a lot of fans last year when fans were limited at the Yum Center. I think it was 15%. And I'm sure that they are happy to be back, and I'm absolutely sure that Jeff Walz is happy to have his fans back, and makes it incredibly tough to come in here and try to play. It's an intimidation factor that not many teams have, Kelly.
100%. And Jen Hoover was talking to us about this. She said that her team was excited to come play in the Yum Center. I think a lot of teams get very excited for this because no matter if it's a Thursday, a Sunday, whatever, it's going to be packed out. And a lot of teams feed off of that. And it can be intimidating, there's no doubt, but at least in the first quarter, it seemed like Wake Forest was really feeding off of that and the energy in this building. So a lot of opposing teams, you'd think they might not want to play in the Yum Center because of the crowd. It's really fun to play in the Yum Center for both Louisville and the opposing team. Now, if you get beat pretty badly, that part's not fun. But playing in front of a big crowd is always a good time.
Lydia Cochran, too many steps. 7-0 run right now for Wake Forest, late in the third quarter. Yeah, 3 straight turnovers for Louisville. Full court
Louisville
pressure
getting
here.
a little sloppy. Yeah, a little sloppy with the ball, and that's something, again, I know it's a big lead, but finishing out this game, not taking your foot off the gas, that's something I believe Jeff Walz will be reiterating at this quarter break.
Knocked out of bounds, last touch by Wake Forest with 35 seconds left to go. Kiana Smith finds Cochran out on the perimeter. Cochran looking underneath. Robinson swarmed by Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Ball loose on the floor. Hard contact there. Hope everyone's okay. As Cochran and Hines collided. Good hustle from both sides.
Get on the floor, Sam. Well, we've got 6 of the 10 players on the floor at one point for that loose ball.
5 to shoot for Williams. Third quarter coming to an end. Nia Becker won't get a shot off. So we end the third quarter with the number 3 team in all the land comfortably in control, 63-37. Fourth quarter coming up next. ACC Network Women's Basketball is presented by Food Lion, the official grocer of the ACC. Inside the KFC Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky. Number 3 Louisville with a comfortable 63-37 lead over visiting Wake Forest. Start of the fourth quarter. Kelly Gramlich, Sam Ravitch on hand with you here. Wake Forest led by 1 after the first quarter, 22-21. They led by as many as 4 in this game, but the defense for Louisville came alive in the second quarter. They outscored Wake Forest 23-4 in the second quarter. Wake Forest did finish the third quarter on a 7-0 run, and a couple of turnovers on this end in a row for Louisville. Olivia Cochran, mid-range, no good. Defensive rebound for Sumiel, kicks it to Nia Becker.
You have to wonder at this point, Sam, if Wake can push a little more and make this more of a game, we'll see. But it feels like perhaps Enxler and Van Lith are done for the evening.
Yeah.
Or afternoon, I should say. I'm not sure, but something to keep an eye on.
That's a good point, as Williams gets fouled on the shot. And you see HVL on the bench. Another good game
Looks
for
kind
her,
of bored.
14 points. Yeah.
HVL wants to play. Knowing Haley Van Lith, and it's been well documented. I've seen stories that Holly Rose done. We did an interview with her last year on Nothing But Net. She is one of those players that you can't make her leave the gym. She works too hard. I know that sounds cliche, but it's actually true. And that's something they worked on this offseason, was to work a little smarter, not harder, because she would just wear herself out. This is the kind of game where I could just see in HVL's mind, she's thinking, I didn't play enough. I got to get to the gym after this. Got to get some shots up. I could just see that running through Haley Van Lith's mind, the way that she thinks, Sam.
Yeah, that is the player that head coach Jeff Walz talks all about. And despite the tough start for her this year, the shots were going to fall eventually as Cochran not too pleased with the call there, an offensive foul. Neither is Jeff Walz.
Coach Walz is going to keep fighting for his team no matter the score. And the fact that Sumiel left the ground after Cochran left the ground, to me that means Sumiel did not obtain legal guarding position before Olivia Cochran left the ground. So that should be a block with the way that I understand the rule. You can't, if you are trying to draw a charge, you can't leave the ground after the offensive player has left the ground. So I see why Jeff Walz was upset with that call.
And I believe he just got teed up. Animated.
Something tells me, Sam, that he is not explaining that call like I just did. Maybe using some other words, raised voice, whatever. But I see why he's upset. I see why he's frustrated. Now, when you look at the time and score, that's Jeff Walz. He's so competitive. He can't let something like that go, and I believe he thinks he's right, and most likely he was. That should have been a block on the other end.
Here's the last couple of words to cap it off from Coach Walz. We said it earlier. He wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he's going to tell you what he thinks. But I'll tell you this, his players love playing for him. A little 10-0 run for Wake Forest here. It was just underway in the fourth quarter. Jeff Walz, the technical foul. A couple free throws in the ball for the Demon Deacons. Here's Sumiel. Scoops it up and in.
Wake Forest just trying to get within striking distance. If they can somehow get this to 10 and then maybe single digits, we'd have a ball game. I know Jeff Walls wants to see Alana Smith and Mikasa Robinson and Verholst close this thing out. He doesn't want to go back to some of his starters, but
yeah,
it looks like perhaps Van Lith is going back in at this point.
Well, you know, she's not complaining about that. Van Lith wants to be on the floor. Emily Ensler back in the game as well.
Sam, this is good. She won't have to go get shots up after this game. She can go home and rest. This is a good sign for HVL.
Inbound to Mikasa Robinson. Van Lith, top of the key. Right out of the gate, off the bench, like she didn't miss any time.
Sam Ravitch, I have to talk about this. This is so difficult to do. Viewer at home, this is so difficult to do. HVL just sat on that bench for, what, 20 minutes of real time? Maybe more with the technical foul and everything. And she comes back up, runs off that screen, sets her feet, and drills it like she hasn't been sitting on a chair for 20 minutes. That is so impressive from Hailey Van Lith. Sam, I think we've seen a switch. I think we've seen a switch from Van Lith where she just looks like a different player than she did at the beginning of the season. She's playing with a ton of confidence. She's shooting the three really well. And as well as Van Lith can play offensively, that's how far I think Louisville goes when it comes to tournament time. That they can, you know, be a 2 seed and get to a Sweet 16, of course, without Van Lith playing really well. But can they make the Final Four without her playing really well? I don't think so. So this is a huge sign for Louisville because she has been on a different level over the last couple of weeks.
And again, was off to a slow start this year, was just 1 of 19 from long range. Over the last 8 games now, Hailey Van Lith is 13 for 27.
It's pretty good.
I'd say so.
It's pretty good, Sam. And that's a testament to, you know, shoot or shoot. With the work that she puts in, she knows she should be shooting 38, 39, 40% from 3. And so when it doesn't start like that at the beginning of the season, it's just a matter of time. If you believe in the work you put in, then it's only a matter of time before those shots fall. And that's what we're seeing for HVL.
68-42, Jewel Spear to the rack. Rolls off the rim. Mikasa Robinson and Louisville not taking any breaths. They continue to push. Oh, HVL just a bit short. Jump ball, a little bit physical there. Bodies hit the floor.
On that play in transition, Sam, I would have loved to see HVL take one dribble and move up towards the three-point line. I think she was just confused as to why there was no one around her. So she shot that, but she can take one dribble, step into it, and shoot it right on the line instead of shooting a tougher shot.
Harrison back to Sumiel. Sumiel looking for Hines, jump ball. And we'll go to Louisville. Robinson will check out. A couple of new faces coming in for Louisville. Take a look at the net rankings as Hailey Van Lith launches once again. Louisville right there at the 4 spot, number 4 ranking, excuse me, and then Wake Forest down there at 92. See the other ACC teams as well, Kelly.
And Sam, you pretty much need to be in that top 50 to get an at-large bid from a Power 5 conference. And you've got 8 teams right there in the top 50, Boston College and up. And those, of course, are the 8 teams currently in the NCAA tournament. Florida State is the real bubble team right now in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They've gotten off to a slow start, but if they can pick things up, they have a chance to possibly sneak their way into the big dance. And of course, 3 in the top 5 with NC State, Louisville, and North Carolina.
I'll tell you this, it's going to be an interesting ride down the stretch of this season in the ACC. I think you're going to see some more upsets. I think you're probably also going to see teams separate from the pack a little bit more as well. Kiana Smith from the elbow, way off. Enksler with the offensive board, has it blocked by Hines.
Great block by Hines. Good job of not fouling and challenging Enksler on that offensive rebound.
Becker gets bumped by Cochran. It's going to be her second personal. We talked about at the top of the show too, Kelly. Louisville hasn't lost back-to-back games in quite a while. In fact, they've only lost 1 back-to-back game in the last 5 seasons, and it happened in 2019-2020. Doesn't appear as if that will happen today.
And Sam, that is a ridiculous stat.
Yeah.
We can't gloss over that. That is an insane stat that in the last 5 years, Louisville has only lost back-to-back games once. And that was in February of 2020. If they lose, you really don't want to be the next opponent. And I know Wake Forest, they look at that schedule, they see that Louisville's playing NC State, they see that they lost, and they're thinking, oh, great. Because Louisville just doesn't lose back-to-back games, and it's a credit to Jeff Walz getting his players ready to play. And we asked him on our pregame phone call with him, do you do anything differently after a loss than you do after a win? And he said, no, our preparation and our breakdown of film and what we do in practice is very similar. And I thought that was very telling, because I was just curious how they were able to have so much success, not losing back-to-back games. I think in the end, these players understand what it means to play for Louisville and the pressure, but also the pride of wearing that L and knowing, look, we have to uphold what other players have done before us, and so we can't afford to lose back-to-back games.
Emily Enksler not exactly thrilled with the call there, and I believe she got a technical foul as well. So the second technical foul in this game, one on that man right there, Jeff Walz, and the other just called on Emily Enksler. As her teammates try to talk to her a little bit.
So it looks like that was a block, but I think Enksler may have also been hit in the eye. And of course, she's talking to the ref, keeps talking. And we know that players have a much shorter leash when it comes to talking to an official than a coach, and that's how it should be. And of course, we don't know exactly what she said, but the official teed her up for what she was saying to him, complaining about that call. And that's something with Enksler. Look, we know she plays with so much fire, so much passion. That's what makes her great. But she's got to be careful with these technical fouls, as Louisville still leads big in the upset.
Never an easy game in the ACC. Louisville knows that, as Florida State kind of had Louisville's number over the past couple of years. 35th meeting coming up Thursday, 8 Eastern on the ACC Network. And the Seminoles that lead the series 19-15. That'll be a good one.
Last year in February, Florida State knocked off Louisville, one of Louisville's few losses last year. So that is a series where Florida State has played Louisville tougher than almost anyone in the ACC. Of course, NC State is starting to get some wins over Louisville. Notre Dame played them well, especially early on when both teams joined the league. But there's something about FSU Louisville. It's always going to be a close game. And I mentioned FSU I would say they're on the outside of the bubble right now. They're not technically on the bubble. They're currently leading Clemson by 9, so if they can get that win, that helps their resume. But if they can beat Louisville, a signature win right now for Florida State would be huge. And could we possibly see the ACC get 9 teams in the NCAA tournament, Sam? That would be quite the number.
It certainly would be. We talked about it. Our friend Charlie Cream currently has 8 if the season were to end today. 9 would be, I don't think anybody in the ACC would complain about 9 teams getting in.
It's a tough thing to do because you have to play each other, and therefore you have to beat each other. So that's why you rarely ever see a team get 9. The SEC has 8 right now, and the ACC has 8, just because you're going to beat up on each other. But if Florida State can get going, they're going to be a team to keep an eye on.
Some of our sarcastic applause there from the crowd at the Yum Center after the foul call on Sumiel. And Emily Engstler will head to the free throw line. Our next All Access, the ACC Life, premieres Tuesday, features Georgia Tech women's basketball, Louisville women's indoor track and field, and Virginia's women's swimming. You'll get unprecedented access into the lives of the student athletes, coaches, staff, and parents. 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the ACC Network and ESPN app, one app, one tap. 3 players in double figures for Louisville in this one. Engstler with 15 now, Van Lith with 17, and Liz Dixon off the bench with 12 points, a perfect 5 for 5 from the floor. Engstler picks the pocket right there of Scruggs. Engstler just a bit too strong there.
We've talked about what Engstler does defensively. She leads the ACC in steals. That's her 2nd steal today. It's very rare when you see more of a 3-4 player lead the ACC in steals. Most of the time it's a guard. But again, that just shows Engstler's versatility.
Here's Jewel Spear.
And Sam, we were talking about this before our game today about who could be in that ACC Player of the Year discussion. These are the 4 for me that are in that discussion. Elisa Cunane and Liz Kitley, they play next right here on ACC Network. Don't change the dial. Also Emily Engstler right here in this game for Louisville, leading the ACC in steals, leads her team in rebounds and blocks and steals, also scoring the ball at a high rate. She has 15 points today. And then, of course, Lorella Kubai, who leads the ACC in rebounding. Those are the 4 for me that I think should be in that ACC Player of the Year discussion right now. And, of course, all 4 of those players are on really good teams. But also 4 post players, Sam. You know me. I'm a guard. I'm a shooter.
I was surprised by that, Kelly.
No guards on that list. I think and Engstler, of course, is a hybrid. But this year, it's really been about some of the post players in the ACC. And to me, those are the 4 best right now, 4 best players in the league.
Hard to argue against Liz Kitley and Elisa Cunane, 2 players that played against each other in high school. They're great friends as Smith takes too many steps. So it's always a pleasure to watch when those 2 battle it out on the court. Again, that'll be right after our game, 4 Eastern on the ACC Network, Virginia Tech and NC State. Here in Louisville, the number 3 team in all the land, a commanding 69-47 lead over a Wake Forest team that has lost 4 straight, threatening to be 5 now. Kaya Harrison baseline, nice reversal for Kaya Harrison. That's a player that Wake Forest has missed. She's missed a little bit of time with an ankle injury, but it certainly helps when she's on the floor. A veteran player that has over 65 games in a Wake Forest jersey.
What a move by her. She was seen as the heir apparent to Gina Conti, was Gina Conti's backup last year, and sustained an injury early on in the season. So it's been kind of a slow process for her. And of course, Elise Williams has been playing a lot as well as a freshman. But I like Harrison and Williams on the floor together. They started today as at the 1 and the 2. And Elise Williams has good size. She can play that 2 for you. So I'd like to see Wake play them together more.
Total of 9 steals on the game for Louisville so far. There's a corner three knocked down by Jules Spear. Once again, leading the way. She's got 16 points. She averages just over 19 a game. That leads the conference. Verhulst off the mark. And you see Ramani Parker in the game as well, the redshirt sophomore from Fresno, California, number 0 in white. Spear. And a foul going against Verhulst.
We have had some fouls in this basketball game, Sam. Louisville's been called for 16 fouls in this second half. We had a lot of flow in the first half. That first quarter was great. It's great basketball. Wake Forest actually led after the first quarter, if you're just joining us. The second half has been a little choppier, not a lot of flow, and I think that's benefited Louisville because it's tough to get back into a game when you aren't in rhythm. And that's something that Wake just really hasn't been able to find in this game.
The momentum shifted right at the start of the second quarter in this game. Mira Hines. Last touch by Louisville there. Still a 16-point deficit for Wake Forest with 2:26 left to go.
You've got to credit Wake Forest. They have brought the fight in this game. They have not given up. And right now, Jen Hoover playing a few reserves. You see a few younger players out there, Hines, Alyssa Andrews on the floor for Wake Forest, and they're still bringing the energy.
Ball tipped away, last touched by Marissa Russell. And I'm curious, Kelly, too. We talk so much about the defense for Louisville. They're holding teams to just about 50 points a game. They are so suffocating. They have Enxler and Mikasa Robinson, Chelsea Hall, all these great defenders. I wonder, do you think that part of it for teams coming in and playing Louisville is a mental thing as well as the physical? Because there's so much talent, of course, in the ACC, but you just kind of wonder how much of a mental block occurs when you go up against a team like Louisville.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely a mental aspect to it when you go up against a team that you know is so good defensively, especially if you're a younger player and haven't played Louisville in your career, only played them once or haven't played in the Yum Center. So there is an intimidation factor. But the other part is they just wear you down. They bring the pressure for 40 minutes. They are going to, the defense never stops. You see Alana Smith out there getting in the passing lane, and she's a player coming off the bench, and this is a fourth quarter where Louisville's up big. The defensive pressure and effort and energy never stops, and I think that's been a factor in this game. You have seen it just wear down Wake. They had a great first quarter, but they weren't able to replicate that afterwards.
We saw it literally a week ago where Boston College went up 20-10 on Louisville in the first quarter, and then Louisville with their defense came right back and wore down a much improved and very impressive Boston College team. And they can do it to the best of the best. So Alyssa Andrews, a talented freshman at the free throw line, and another foul going against Louisville there. Lane violation, excuse me, on, yeah, that's a lane violation on Shetnan. Freshman from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Minute 50 left to go here in the Yum Center. Turnovers racking up a little bit, I'm sure a little bit higher than Coach Jeff Walls would like to see in this scenario. 17 turnovers for Louisville in the game. That is tied with Wake at 17 all. 11 in the second half. It's a three for Alana Smith. That's well short. Mira Hines couldn't hang on to it. Now does. Alyssa Andrews now splitting a couple of defenders. And she was out of bounds when she touched the ball. And I think, Kelly, if Wake Forest can take something away from this game, they never gave up. They're on a 7-0 run right now, and they've gone on a couple of those in the fourth quarter, but they never relented.
You're exactly right, Sam. They won the first quarter and they won the fourth quarter. Now I know there's some reserves in for Louisville. It was the middle of the game where they lost it, and that's where you have to find a way to sustain against a team like Louisville with their pressure. But I do think Wake Forest especially can build on that first quarter. Now you still have to watch the second and the third and see what went wrong, but I think you can take some confidence from how you scored the ball in that first quarter.
At the line for the Cardinals, number 13, Marissa Russell, 6'2".
Marissa Russell will shoot a couple at the line, knocks down the first. We also asked the question at the top of the show, what was the response going to be from Louisville coming off of the loss to NC State? They came out a bit sluggish, but went back to the old reliable defense. And I think overall a fairly good response. Of course, it was never a great finish to that game, but a good response nonetheless. And a foul on the open floor going against Scruggs as Jewel Spear matches her average for the year with that 19 points for the sophomore.
And I think overall a really good response from Louisville, especially early. There's no doubt in this second half Jeff Walz has played a lot of players, and he's gotten some different players in on the action. It hasn't been that starting group, but I think when you look at the starters and you look at Van Lith and Inksler specifically, and Liz Dixon, who came off the bench, you have to be very excited about what both of those players, especially Dixon as well, brought in this game.
"15 seconds left to go in the game. Jewel Spear looking to get into the 20s, and she does.
Jewel Spear is going to find a way to score the basketball. That's just what she does.
So Louisville will run the clock out, and a 12-point victory for the Cardinals. 10-0 this season when scoring 70 or more. They have done that. An impressive response coming off a tough loss to NC State. Wake Forest brought the energy. They never gave up in this one. 10 different Cardinals scored in this one, Kelly.
This was a great offensive showing for Louisville, and we talk about how they're undefeated this season when scoring 70 or more. Over the last 3 seasons, Louisville is 52-0 when they score 70 or more. So when they're able to get multiple players involved offensively, they're very, very tough to beat. I loved what HVL brought today, Emily Inksler as well. And then, of course, for Wake, Jewel Spear ends with 22 points, scores a lot in that fourth quarter. This game was odd in terms of flow, Sam. It was weird. It didn't have a lot of flow in the second half, but overall, Louisville just too much for Wake, and I think you have to be very encouraged by what Louisville did offensively if you're a Cards fan.
Well, we all know what Louisville did last year. Made it to the Elite Eight, but lost to eventual champion Stanford.